Cranberry Baked Brie Bites are a quick and easy, bite-sized appetizer to serve at your next holiday get-together. Each little cup is full of melted Brie cheese, cranberry sauce, toasted pecans, and topped with a tiny sprig of rosemary. Welcome back. I'm Jill with thecarefreekitchen.com, and today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite appetizer recipes for the holidays. This is such a fun recipe, and it is everything that you love in a holiday-themed recipe. It is warm, it is cheesy, it has a little bit of tang, and then it's also that's like a little bit of salty Brie cheese. I mean, it is the perfect combination. Follow along and I will show you step by step how to make my mini Brie bites. For the ingredients, we have some cranberries, and this is just 12 ounces of fresh cranberries. You can usually get these in your grocery store in November, but I do like to have just a couple extra bags on hand, and they freeze great. So grab a couple extra if they come to your grocery store. And then I have one orange, and I am going to use this for zest for my cranberry sauce, and then you can also juice this to get 1/3 of a cup of juice. And then I have my sugar here, a little bit of water too. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my stove on here, and you can just turn that on to about medium heat. And then into a medium saucepan, I'm going to add my cranberries, and I'm using fresh today, but again, frozen works great. I am adding my sugar and my orange zest, and this orange zest just gives it so much flavor. It is so delicious. And then my orange juice and my water. Now this recipe, you can just set it on the stove, and I'm going to let it come up to heat. I will stir it to just make sure there aren't any big clumps of sugar there in the bottom. I don't want it to scorch, but you don't have to stir it constantly, just stir it occasionally every minute or so. And then we're going to boil it for about 8 minutes. And what we're looking for here is we want the cranberries to cook and then just burst a little bit. They aren't hard or big or round. We want it to be like kind of a mushy cranberry, and it makes like this jelly type mixture when it's all cooked and then cooled. This cranberry orange sauce puts any store-bought cranberry sauce to shame. Okay, so for this recipe, I have 2 sheets of this puff pastry, and you can use phyllo dough or you can use crescent roll dough. Either one works great. Today I'm using the puff pastry because my store was out of phyllo dough, so I guess it's good that there's like a few different options you can use, but today we're using puff pastry. So you get it in the frozen section. If it's just barely chilled, it's best, but it can be room temperature too. And then I have some prepared cranberry sauce, and then I found this brie log. You can use this brie log or a brie wheel. Either one works great. I'm going to use a little bit of flour to sprinkle on my cutting board so the dough doesn't stick. And then I have some toasted pecans, and then also a few sprigs of fresh rosemary. And this just adds like a bright green burst of color to our little appetizers. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my cutting board, and I like to just do a little bit so it doesn't stick, and you just unfold this puff pastry. You can put a little bit of flour on your rolling pin if needed, and I'm just going to smooth out the little creases. You don't need to push it heavy or be aggressive in any way. And then to this, I'm going to cut this into half. I'm going to cut this into quarters and then cut each one of those into quarters. So you will have about 36 of these little mini Brie bites when you're all done. And then to prepare your baking dish, I'm going to spray my little mini cupcake pan with just some nonstick cooking spray. And I'm going to add the puff pastry to my little mini cupcake pan. And if you just gently put it in there and then use your fingers to just tap around the edges so it fills the bottom of that cup, that will be great. And it's just so pretty how it has like the little corners coming out of there. It's just a really pretty and fun to make recipe. And I'm just going to do this until I have my entire cupcake pan lined. Okay, I'm just going to get these last few here. And then for my brie, I like to just make slices and kind of divvy it up based on how many cups I have. I like to have the edges just come out slightly. So if you do it with crescent roll dough or phyllo dough or the puff pastry, either one, just to make it just a little bit bigger than the cup so it comes out, and then you can easily lift it out without there being like the gooey cheese or cranberry sauce caramelized on there. Now I'm just going to put each slice of the little Brie cheese into my little mini cups. And as you can see on this Brie cheese, there's like a white coating around the edges, and that is a type of mold. I know it sounds scary, but it actually is such a nice, it's healthy to eat, and it adds such a nice depth of flavor to your Brie cheese. Brie cheese is creamy and soft and nutty, and this just adds like this like little bit of tang to it. So you're gonna love it. Just keep it on. So if you have a little bit of extra Brie cheese, you can add it. You don't want to add too much so that there's brie cheese like melted and falling over the cups, but just enough to like fill it up. And then on top of that, I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of my cranberry sauce. And this cranberry sauce is just the perfect pairing with brie cheese. The cranberry sauce is tart and sweet. And then that buttery cup of puff pastry with that brie in there that's like a little bit tangy and salty. I mean, it is such a fun grown-up appetizer recipe. Another thing that I really love about this is the flavors just don't compete too much with each other. I mean, there's just a lot going on and you bite into it, but it all just works together so well. And now we're going to preheat the oven to 375 degrees. And then I'm going to take my pecans, and I only need about 1/4 cup of the nuts, and then I'm going to coarsely chop them and sprinkle just a little bit of the pecans on top of the brie cups. And again, it's just like another layer of texture for that bite, and it's like the nutty flavor is just, again, so wonderful. And you could also use walnuts here, you could use pine nuts, you could use pistachios. Pistachios would be really good in this. Okay, here are our brie bites before we bake them. They are beautiful. And now we're going to bake them in a preheated 375-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes. If you need to make this ahead of time, you can put it in the fridge or leave it on the counter for another 30 minutes or whatever, and then cook it when your guests arrive. Here are your brie bites. And then I like to finish it off with just these little sprigs of rosemary, just a couple little leaves. It adds just a little bit of a fresh burst of flavor in there with that brie bite. It makes such a fun and easy appetizer recipe. Your little mini appetizers are ready to go. Okay, check out these little mini brie bites. I mean, they are so beautiful and so delicious. As you can see, it has like this little bit of like caramelization there on the edges, and then just a little bit of a nut and the tart cranberries and the creamy salty brie cheese. It just does not get better than this. I love these so much. Take a look at that. So I hope you make these brie bites, and of course, if you do, be sure to tag me. I want to see what you're making. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Carefree Kitchen. I hope you love this recipe for my little mini brie bites. They are such a fun and wonderful holiday appetizer recipe. Everyone loves them and asks for the recipe every time I take them somewhere. They are little and mini and so fun to eat. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Carefree Kitchen. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me here, and I will show you all kinds of fun and easy recipes that your family will love.